In this episode, we look at the implosion of r fucking fascists, a subreddit dedicated to kinky fascist content that, at its height, had over 100,000 subscribers. The moderators, vocal liberals, didn't realize that what they had created was less a roleplay community than a hunting ground for actual Nazis, until suddenly and dramatically, they were forced to face that fact.
There's really nothing real. There is no real. And that's what's called the postmodern mentality.
I couldn't resist the worst racist remark.
The adventure of life justifies its suffering.
I don't want to see him having political succubus with goblins.
We'll do it live.
Okay. Is Trump going to have babies with a goblin?
We'll do it live.
And turn against us like Darth Vader?
Do it live.
Now listen, you
right
I'll
calling
slap
names
you in
and
your
let's get-
goddamn face, and you'll stay plastered.
I was going to have a guest speaker, but the person I had invited in died.
Some level of masochism.
This is Helen.
This is Sarah,
Welcome to Odium Symposium.
a podcast about the production of bigotry.
Just a quick reminder, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Odium Symposium for $5 a month.
You can leave a message, we'll read it on the show, you'll get early access to episodes, and we're going to continue to produce connoisseur-only episodes from time to time, but mostly you're just being nice to us.
Also, all listeners are welcome to join our Discord. You can find a link for that in the description.
This episode is going to be a little unusual. So you're like moving between countries right now. You're basically podcasting from like a closet.
Yeah, exactly. We've been talking about it would be so great to have like a podcasting like closet, at least like a room, like a little room for podcasting. And this is sort of like a monkey's paw situation because this is like the bedroom I'm staying in currently. What if your whole room was a closet? Like, okay, I guess. But yeah, I'm lying in bed. For the listeners who can't see, because we don't release video feed, I'm lying in bed. I'm holding my mic. I'm like, if I jostle the cables too much, the audio disconnects. So this is real low budget indie podcasting right now. We're breaking ground here.
We're also going to talk about something that nobody has ever talked about before, which is Reddit. I know you've heard of this website. You're a big Redditor. You're always sending me, what are they called? Advice animals and rage comics.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in today's modern world where everything is so confusing, sometimes you just need like a puffin to give you some advice,
Today we're going to talk about a particular subreddit and its moderation history. And not all of our listeners are going to be familiar with how Reddit moderation works, and it's important to the story. So I'm going to give you a basic rundown. Reddit, which is currently the 5th most visited site in the US, is run by a pretty typical tech company. The company and its agents are referred to as the admins, and they do almost no moderation of or guiding of the site. They also don't do much to change the site on a technical level, except they get into whatever the latest tech scam is and integrate it. So Reddit has had like NFTs and blockchain integration and AI integration. All this shit inevitably ends up getting ripped out after a few years. They did an IPO not that long ago.
I have like a relatively small like retirement investment account because at some point I was able to save like a little bit of money and put it in like a Roth IRA. And I think I bought a share of Reddit. God, I shouldn't have confessed that on no one was making me confess that on the podcast.
It's okay. I'll edit that out. Don't worry about it. Okay, there's a lot of odium we could get into with the admins, but in this episode they're not the focus. Most of the work on Reddit is done by a completely separate group of people, the mods. Reddit is essentially a collection of forums called subreddits, and each forum has its own moderators. Key point here is that the mods are volunteers, they're not paid, and modding is absolute shit work. You're deleting tons of spam and comments from just like the most stupid and degenerate losers on the internet. Since the work is so bad, and there's so much of it, there are kind of like 3 types of people who become moderators. The first is people who are constantly power tripping. The second is people who have some sort of like a sense of mission around building community. And the third is people who are looking to hawk products and scams or be sock puppets for corporations. The only things the admins care about are keeping negative media attention off the company and making sure the mods don't have any organizational power, and in particular, can't fuck with the advertisers or jam up the content pipeline. Users largely hate mods, in part because the admins use them as shields. So users largely don't understand the difference between mods and admins. So mods have an adversarial relationship with basically everyone else on the site, and they're kind of like clannish with each other.
Yeah, it's not that uncommon for mods to make a rule in subreddits that, like, you're not allowed to report the subreddit to the Reddit admins, which is, like, completely wild as a concept. This happens more in Facebook. Like, Facebook groups will be like, one of the rules you agree to joining, like, don't report us to Zuckerberg. But I've seen it on Reddit too, and it is like, yeah, it's exactly this adversarial thing of like, the admins will delete a subreddit if it, especially a smaller subreddit, if it's more trouble than it's worth, if it's fucking with advertisers, the admins will just like ban it or make it go private, or, you know, they can really fuck with subreddits. And so the mods just like, yeah, they really hate the admins in general.
They'll also do the opposite. Like, if a subreddit goes private, then the admins will just forcibly unprivate it. If they view it as like an important source of like content or important for advertisers, they have a sense that this is something that could like snowball into some sort of informal unionization. The subreddit we're talking about today is called Fucking Fascists. And the mods there understand themselves to be of the community building type. Let's get a sense of what the community they're building is based around by looking at a few of the most upvoted posts on the subreddit of all time. Okay, so here's the number one most upvoted post.
Okay, sorry, I'm like stun-locked. What's the name of this subreddit again?
Fucking Fascists.
4 years ago. It is tagged with the tag fascism (kink). I love it when racist cops taking advantage of leftists' cunts. It makes my cunt so fucking wet to see them break their holes and attitude. It's a porn gif. Some porn video where the plot of the porn is clearly police are like searching this woman.
So this is from 4 years ago, which is not long after the subreddit was founded. Here's the number 2 post of all time, and the video is dead, but you can still see the title.
Your landlord won't respect your pronouns, but he'll give you job as his personal cum dump. Okay, so this is a porn subreddit.
Last just like straight up porn one I'm going to show you in this sequence.
Okay, this one's from 3 years ago. It's just a kink, it's just role-playing until it's not. And then it's another porn video. You made your boyfriend a fascist, and now you're living with the consequences as text over just like a woman getting railed.
Let's skip down to number 5 here. This is a mod post.
Post tag serious (non-kink). Just a reminder that actual fascists are unironic and unsexy scum. Hey, this place really blew up, and I'm happy to be here with you all. Just wanted to remind any of our new members that this is ultimately all just kink, and that this sub does not endorse fascism, but explicitly opposes it. Kink is often a weird thing. Sometimes absurdity is sexy. Sometimes it's novelty or taboo or power dynamics or the thought of loss or betrayal or any other number of things. We're all here for our own reasons, but remember, it's just a game. Just play. Serious talk. Real fascists are scum and have no place here or anywhere for that matter. Otherwise, enjoy yourselves.
All right, so what are your thoughts so far?
You're gonna get me on the record taking a stand on like kink discourse?
Yes.
That's the trap here? Okay. There's a lot of discourse and like conversation around like some kinks being okay and some not, trying to draw lines that I just like don't really care about. I don't really think that it like matters. I just like don't trust a subreddit to do a kink well. But like I think my fears are like largely related to like having been on Reddit and knowing how much like just misogyny exists on Reddit. And therefore, like, if this were a subreddit, I don't think I'm much more scared that this is, like, about how wild this can get than I would be if this were, like, some supposedly totally innocuous kink, like people who are really into, like, rubber ducks or something. Like, I would believe that the Redditor can make anything horrible.
Here's the basic tension. The mods genuinely believe themselves to be good liberals, and in fact, anti-fascist. And they're running the sub that is wall-to-wall fascist jerk-off material. But it's okay because it's not intended for fascists, and because they're not welcoming to fascists. Do you see any way this could go wrong?
Yeah, it's a public space, so saying like we aren't welcoming to this group of people is like that's not worth anything, right? Like fascists are obviously going to show up. I don't know, kinks that involve these kinds of things, fascism, but even like kinks around like non-consent or whatever, like you need to have lots of conversations with the people involved. You need to like make sure that you have good communication, and that's something which like you just like Reddit is not a framework that allows for that. And so like of course you're going to have people who are showing up who are like viewing this thing for real.
Well, let's look at some of the replies to this particular post that I just showed you.
The only good fascist is a very, very dead one. Based, in real life, I hate being misgendered, but in kink, hot as fuck. Come breed this girly pussy. Another reply, not true, I mog you all. Another reply, shut your ass up.
You can see this kind of like pushback against fascist presence is already getting like kind of a mixed response. And also, right at the start, there's already a lot of concern about like, is it a good idea to have this subreddit?
Another post, are posts expressing concern about this Reddit sincere? I'm noticing an influx of, I'm worried about how much this Reddit is growing posts, and I can't tell if y'all are baiting to be degraded further or actually concerned about people. Me personally, I just find the whole shit interesting and reflective of the insincerity in a lot of people's current political convictions in and outside of kink. I don't know how dangerous subs like this actually are, though. I mean, anyone stupid enough to become a legitimate fascist because they're horny ain't doing much for society anyway, Lamau. I don't know, there's like two stories I'm thinking of here. One is that, and I don't want to share a lot of details about this one because like it's not really my story to tell the details of, but I do know someone who went on a few dates with someone who was a self-described fascist. And this was like somewhere in the world where there was like a fascist party that was like self-described fascist. And so it wasn't like, oh, like internet edgelord, like I'm a fascist. It was like a dude who was like, I am, you know, to the extent that I'm politically engaged, like I agree with the fascists. I was like, you know, for me, like I just wouldn't date someone who says that. And she was like, well, it's, you know, it's casual, like the sex is really good. And then the ending of that story is she got sexually assaulted by him. It's just like these questions about like the, oh, it's like fun until it's not, or like it's kink, like that's like, I don't think that it's insincere to be concerned about a subreddit like this, right? Like to be like, hey, there's this like kink and I want this community, and then, oh, it seems like a lot of people are here. Oh, it seems like a lot of people are doing this thing for real. Like that seems like a real concern to have. The other thing I'm thinking a lot about reading this is, do you know the author Dennis Cooper?
No.
I was introduced to Dennis Cooper by my girlfriend Quinny.
Who does the episode art, by the way?
Yeah, Quinny does the episode art. She's so cool. Dennis Cooper has this book called The Sluts, which mostly takes place like on internet forums. And he somehow really captured like the way the internet works in this book. It's like a very upsetting book to read because there's a lot of like really graphic shit going on in it. At least at the beginning, the book is structured around posts on a escort review site reviewing this like twink bottom in West Hollywood who like will apparently let you do anything you want to him. And there's a really interesting parallel where people are like, hey, like trying to figure out like the reality, what's happening to this guy. Like that's not the hot part here. The hot part here is like making up these stories. So some people make a spin-off forum for fantasizing about like having sex with and murdering Aaron Carter. But most people in the forum don't go to that forum because they're like, well, that's fake. That's just like you fantasizing. That's lame. You're just talking about some celebrity and like what you want to do to him. We like the reality of this forum, even though most of them understand that all the posts on this forum are also made up. So there's this really like ambiguous nature of like how much is the like fantasy versus the reality like part of what's happening here. This is also a problem for this subreddit, right? Because, okay, of course you have this concern about, are there actually fascists here? But a lot of people on the subreddit are, they don't want to break the kayfabe ever. So they're gonna be doing like fascist roleplay on posts like this, even though these are supposed to be like the breaking kayfabe discussion posts. But they're gonna think, oh, but I'm still just doing roleplay. Now the thing about that's more complicated is like role-playing a fascist just makes you a fascist. Like, I don't know. So there's layers going on here, and this is going to be so bad. I can already, we're like 5 minutes in, and this is going to be so bad.
There's a lot to address in what you said. One thing is, they have hookup threads for people to just like identify other users of the subreddit.
Oh no.
And Yes, and DM them and hook up with them. And they're like, we don't encourage this, but we know people are going to do it anyway, so here's the thread where you can do it.
That is ill-advised, I would say.
I would say that's an error, yeah. Also, to me, the big issue is not so much that, like, people are going to show up to the subreddit and they're going to see this fascist propaganda and they're going to be like, oh, now I get that fascism is cool. I mean, maybe it could happen. But much more likely to me seems to be fascist infiltration and propagandizing through replies and conversation. You know, fascists thrive on this ambiguity around whether they're being ironic and role-playing or not. That's the format in which they can get their message across most effectively. We saw that in, for example, the Sartre episode.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree. Like, I don't think it's a question of, like, people are going to come and, like, sort of consciously be like, oh, now I understand fascism is hot. But you're right. It's going to be, it's hot to pretend to be a fascist. And the longer that you find it hot to pretend to be a fascist, the more fascist you become, right? Like,
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, like, completely independent of you doing this role play, people are going to, like, in conversation with you, communicate that, like, actually, you know, fascism is really just like another ideology. In fact, let's look at the replies to this post.
this has been entertaining, and I totally agree because people can differentiate between fantasies and reality. Do you know there has been someone reporting several conservative or even neutral comments in this post as possible fascism? Lamau. I think perspective taking is important. This is so funny already. Like, this is like the centrist, like, you know, we have to hear out both sides. We have to write it. It's happening in the fascist porn subreddit. I think perspective taking is important because you don't have to agree with opposing views, but it's important you understand where they're coming from. There have always been extremisms on various political spectrums. If you only listen to one side of the arguments, you'll be sure to fall into the trap of getting brainwashed by politicians with their own agendas, and become an extremist yourself. So just be a critical and independent thinker. Easy. Speaking as a politically neutral Asian female, oh my god. Like, I don't want to necessarily, right, I have no basis for knowing that this person's lying about their identity, but it's just so funny how many documented cases there are of, like, white guy Republican chud, like, forgetting to switch to his alt Twitter account and being like, as a black man, I agree with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to check out a subreddit, don't check out Fucking Fascists. Check out our As a Black Man. Because it's just, like, endless examples of right-wingers doing that.
And, like, you know, there's fascist Asian women. Like, I'm not playing this game of, like, that, you know, they must be lying because if they really were an Asian people, they'd have perfect politics. Like, of course not, but I don't know. Speaking as a politically neutral Asian female, most shitty treatments I've got both IRL and online, including racism, actually come from far left, and then in scare quotes, fascists. They just want to feel morally superior to you without actually practicing what they preach. They pretend to listen, they censor your speech, they kink shame you because you don't conform to their versions of diversity and inclusion, empowerment and liberation, while on the other hand promoting misandry, racism, and other double standard bullshits. I've been called a fascist sympathizer simply because I agree with certain conservative values and notions and support erotic content with misogyny as a kink and VAs who produce them. So yeah, I'm not worried about this sub promoting fascism because by exposing the toxic and hilarious aspects of all kinds of extremism, and it actually takes power away from them rather than promoting and strengthening them.
And then there's a reply from OP.
Incredible reply. I'm not gonna lie, based on this comment, I definitely get why leftists would call you a fascist. No shade though, because it's your life to live. I'm just like, oh yeah, no, I see why they're saying that to that girl as I read it.
Yeah, so she didn't fall for it.
That's so funny. It's also, they're like, she's doing the thing again, I noticed, that we talked about in the last episode, where when she says far left, quote, fascists, like the accusation towards the left is that it is like the far right, but you still have to take as given that the far right is bad. Like, and that doesn't enter into the calculation at all. Like, the sort of the watermark you're going for is to say that the far left is as bad as we already all have to understand and know the far right to be. And yet that never enters into this, like, horseshoe theory type bullshit.
At about 1 year into the sub's existence, I found a poll. It asked its users, like, where are you on the political spectrum? And about 10% of the users self-identified as far right. The mods are very aware of these people, and I found one of them, I think, referencing this poll, like, years later. And they have a two-pronged strategy to keep this 10% or so from turning the sub into a straight-up fasc sub. Here's an announcement post.
A reminder that we mods rely upon you to help us identify real fascists. Despite the hard nature of the kinks displayed in this sub, we totally support equality and human rights for all. It's not okay for someone to have real discriminatory and hateful views such as transphobia, homophobia, and racism, etc. There is no compromising when we enforce our Rule 1, you can rest assured of that. If you discovered someone with such real tendencies, please keep reporting them, such as specific comments by them until we notice and take actions or send a mod mail if someone shows their true colors in DMs. As mods, we're still normal people with our own lives, and we have limited time and energy spent on Reddit, so we rely upon you to keep this sub a safe and healthy kinky space for all. Like, I'm sorry, you're just, like, not building a community. Like, even in the best version of what this could be, it's not a community, it's a porn board. And I don't say that to, like, disparage porn, right? I'm not trying to be, like, I don't want to be, anti-sex work on this pod or whatever. Like, porn is good, whatever. But, yeah, you're not, like, building a community in a safe space. You're building a place where people are, like, sharing pornography. And, like, that has to inform your moderation here, right? Like, if you think, like, I'm going to be able to root out all of the, like, unsavory types who view my porn, you're just not. Like, you actually need to, like, realize that this is such a fool's errand to build a community.
It's going to get so much worse.
Oh, my God.
I would also say that if your community depends on constantly fanning the flames of paranoia and asking people to report their fellow community members to the mods
that's really
for
funny.
secretly being real fascists,
that.
like, that's not a great structure upon which to build.
There's this, like, liberal obsession with the idea of, like, which I now realize, you're right, is, like, very fascist. The idea of the hidden fascist, the fascist who hides among us and secretly controls things, right?
Trump might as well have stood on stage and just been like, look, if you elect me, I'm going to implement fascism. It's going to be great. We're going to purge the ethnic minorities. Like, it was pretty clear.
He didn't say I'm going to implement fascism. Like, he didn't use those words, but he, like, did say we're going to purge the ethnic minorities, right? Like, yeah, it could not have been less secretive.
At the same time, in this particular context, there's a bunch of secret fascists. Like, they are actually here. They're not delusional about that.
Okay, I'll accept that. But I do think that, like, then you have to take that a step further and you have to say, okay, we're building this porn subreddit where functionally there's no difference between, like, a real fascist and a fake fascist. And so the solution to that can't be we're going to, like, run this paranoid game of trying to figure out who's a real fascist. It has to be to understand that, like, you need to practice boundaries in your life between this community and the rest of your life, because this isn't a community. Again, it's like a porn aggregator.
Okay, so the first prong was to get people to report fascists, and then the mods would ban them. This is the second prong. Twice a month, for 2 days each time, they do a subreddit aftercare, where you're not allowed to roleplay or kink post. You can only post about real shit and about how much you hate fascists. I get the sense there's, like, a mixed reception to this. Eventually it goes down to twice a month for 1 day each time. Personally, I would be pretty pissed if I was a user. I don't know, like, I'm going over to the subreddit and I'm like, I want to jerk off. And they're like, sorry, no jerk off material for 2 days. The mods are doing aftercare with you.
Yeah, I also feel like I find that like a really offensive and infantilizing use of the word aftercare. Like, that's not what aftercare is, right? Like, aftercare is oh my god. This is painful. This is so painful.
At the same time that they're like aware of these problems, they pretty clearly think they have all of this like well in hand. And the attitude of the mods toward real world politics is, let's say, lackadaisical in the run up to the 2024 election. Here's an announcement.
During the debate announcement, here's a reminder for everyone that while we may be a political kink server, political discussion is against our rules. All fun and games until we start getting serious with politics and bring the mood down. We're here to enjoy some kink, not talk about who's best or get all stuffy about world leaders.
After the election, things start to go downhill. So they get absolutely flooded with fascists, and they end up putting the sub on private for a while, which means you can't see it or interact with it at all unless you're already subscribed to it. And the admins will only let you do this for a brief time, because in the past, going private has been used as a strike tactic by mods. After the subreddit comes back from being private, they have a new rule. You have to be approved by the mods to make new posts. No restrictions on replying, just top-level posts. So, in theory, the problem is solved. And now the fascists know they can't win because they're being watched like hawks and they'll stay contained. Reddit is not like a well-archived site. And in particular, when the mods of this subreddit ban people, they also go back and they delete all their past posts. So I can really only like get glimpses into the history here. There are major announcements people reference that should be there and they just aren't. But still, I could tell going through that cracks kept showing up. Like, check out this announcement.
Announcement and clarifications. And then it's that like meme image of Captain America like doing a PSA with captions, so you have a kink that you pretend goes against your beliefs. Hello friends, we have a few things to go over from the mod team. Don't mind the image, it's semi-related and so this post can be more visible. Unfortunately, we have received solid information that a previous mod who was still very active was actually a MAGA fascist, so we had to pull the trigger there. This is your reminder that anyone can be a fascist, and to help keep this space safe, we encourage you to speak up. Most times, it'll be someone sweet to get your defenses down, but always trust your gut/intuition, and feel free to message a mod if you have any second thoughts. We also want to thank the person who reported them. We know it can be scary to speak up when they're active in the community.
So the mod team got infiltrated by an actual fascist. And then a month later, there's another post about a guy named Aussie Leftist.
When we started our search for moderators, Aussie's application was well written and convincing. Enough time had passed for the team to not remember the report against him exactly. I did, however, so this one is on me. When we were voting for moderators, I didn't take this past report into account and supported Aussie becoming a mod, and so he did. Almost immediately, I got a message from an account that later deleted. The message was cryptic and yet warned against him being a, quote, predator. Unfortunately, that account provided no context, but as luck would have it, the next day, today, I received another report, this one extremely thorough, about who Cruel Bonk was. It also proved him and Aussie were the same person. In summary, the man was a manipulator who very obviously didn't draw a line between kink and real life and was involved in situations with dubious consent. He should not only have not been a moderator, he shouldn't have been on the subreddit at all. This is a major fuck-up on the side of our team, and something I personally am ashamed of. Aussie/Bonk has been removed as a moderator and also banned. Being on the mod team doesn't make any of us above moderation. That's a philosophy we all stand behind, and unfortunately, this is not the first time we have had to enforce it. I don't know, there's a lot going on here. Like, okay, yeah, the mods keep getting infiltrated by fascists, because of course, I don't want to say everyone who finds something hot as a kink finds, has this political belief in real life, but of course, like, a big part of fascism, as we've repeatedly talked about, is, like, libidinal enjoyment and like sexuality. Like, this is something we've talked about like repeatedly, and so like of course it's not even a question of like fascists are doing infiltration on purpose to try to like recruit, although of course that's also happening. It's like, yeah, like fascists are going to find this stuff hot and they're going to show up to your porn board and they're going to want to moderate it, and like maybe this guy was on purpose, like, I'm going to get a bunch of new fascists. Maybe this guy was like, I'm just going to troll a bunch of libs. Who knows?
Here's another announcement they make about this time.
Rules update. Greetings, everyone. As a bit of rules clarification, do not give money to IRL fascists. We know that red hats and Confederate bikinis are popular around these parts, but we do not want to see them in any kind of selfie content. Fascist kink is hot, fascism itself is not. Do not purchase fascist paraphernalia, including but not limited to fascist flags, bikinis printed with fascist iconography, merchandise from IRL fascist groups, i.e. MAGA hats. Have a happy Pride Month, and good luck to those of you in Los Angeles. Given that the user who posted this is tagged with trans commie mommy, uncritical support to this mod. I support her.
Let me point out the distinction that they're attempting to draw here between fascist content and fascist content that's affiliated with something in particular. So, like, what you're allowed to find hot and post about on here is just the broad general idea of fascism. But once you particularize it down to something that, like, actually affects people in real life, then you have a problem. Also, pretty clearly, the subreddit is just, like, causing money to get funneled directly to fascists. So I think that's bad.
The line that you're talking about, right? The line that she's, like, trying to draw here, I feel like I'm just repeating myself a bunch, but it's, again, this is not something that can be handled at the subreddit level. Like, this is a kink which, like, deals with some really problematic things, and the answer can't be, like, okay, we're going to build a community on this subreddit. The answer has to be, like, understand that the subreddit is not a community and it's an aggregator of porn, and, like, this whole thing needs to be just torn down and, like, rebuilt from scratch with entirely different principles.
I think the complacency of the mods is evident in this reaction to the Charlie Kirk shooting.
A stern discussion of where we are. From Pig Slut 182.
We're going to see a lot of Pig Slut 182 from here on.
Amazing. Hello everyone, I'm back again with a quick message. In recent days, we here at the mod team have seen an uptick in some negative behaviors, rule-breaking posts, and the like. As another mod mentioned previously, we understand that these are trying and controversial times. As much as you may dislike or disagree with someone, though, genuinely celebrating violence sets a bad precedent. Come on. Discourse around... come on was me editorializing. That's not in there. Discourse around politics is tense and fraught, seemingly more now than in recent memory, but we should all remember that when the only tactics you use in discussion are escalation and demonization of others, you'll only ever make a more toxic environment. Yeah, this is extremely complacent. I have a lot to say about this. Nobody has ever had their mind changed by being directly insulted, humiliated, or infuriated. That's not true. Again, me editorializing. It's natural for people to dig their heels in when their beliefs are challenged. If you only ever stoop lower than your opponent, you'll be in an eternal race to rock bottom. Don't let some hateful, small-minded shithead with one set of beliefs turn you into a hateful, small-minded shithead with another set of beliefs. That makes you both hateful and small-minded, and then nobody makes any progress toward the change they want to see in others in the world. We're all human. Of course, we here at Fucking Fascists don't abide or allow any right-wing wackos and authoritarian assholes for their beliefs, but we don't want to see you, our users, become equally toxic in a different way. You can stand up for yourself and engage in this subject matter without becoming a monster yourself, so please don't. Okay, I'm going to break one of my cardinal rules here, which is, never get into a fight with a pig slut because she'll drag you down into the mud with her, but she likes it. But yeah, this is so funny. This is exactly the same as the post that the politically neutral Asian female made, where people were like, oh yeah, I get why you're being called a fascist. Like, I'm going to report Pig Slut 182 as a potential fascist to the other mods.
Yeah, it's the same post. It's the same fucking post.
I feel like I've mentioned this a couple times on the podcast before, but this idea of nobody has ever had their mind changed by being directly insulted, humiliated, or infuriated, that's not really true. Like, I'm not saying that those are the best ways to change someone's mind, and I do think that, people do dig their heels in, like, that's a thing that people do, but I can think back to times in my life where I said stuff that I hadn't really thought about, and somebody was like,
hey, that's stupid as dog shit. And then you were like, oh, wait.
And it made me feel bad, and then I was like, why do I feel bad? And I was like, oh, because I did say something stupid. This accepting that, like, no one will ever change their mind having that experience, like, I'm sorry, like, skill issue. Like, yeah, people who only ever dig their heels in are called assholes, right? Like, and to be like, oh, the celebration of Charlie Kirk's death shows that politics is more tense and fraught now than in recent memory, like, after we'd already seen ICE raids, like, that's crazy.
Speaking of ICE raids, after this, ICE invades Minneapolis. And people are posting their fantasies about ICE kidnapping and raping people, and it's freaking the mods out. And then ICE agents murder Renee Good and Alex Preddy in the streets, and the mods start crashing the fuck out. We're going to hear from PigSlut182 again.
If you voted for Trump or are a conservative or authoritarian, leave this place now. The title sums up my thoughts. Get the fuck out of this subreddit. You do not belong. We do not like you. You are not welcome. This subreddit does not want your kind here. Simple, go, shoo, scram, slink back to whatever hole you spawned from. Leave us alone. If you wanted to make a post that would actually make fascists leave, I couldn't think of a worse one. Like, is there anything fascists love more than liberals having, like, a completely empty crash out?
Mm-hmm.
That
and
has, like,
being
no power to do anything?
You can't come into our club.
Yeah,
like this is our
we don't
safe
like
space
you.
from you.
Like,
they love that shit. They want to violate your boundaries. That's the whole idea.
That's what this subreddit is like. You moderate a subreddit, which is about how they find that shit hot. Like, what? I'm so excited. Like, the idea of this person leading some kind of, like, community-wide aftercare is, like, hilarious to me.
Here's another post, again from PigSlut182, and this one is quite long.
At what point are we complicit? Hello, everyone. This is Brandy, back again for some reflection. This post isn't coming from me in my capacity as a moderator, but as a user, and doesn't reflect any official stance of the mod team, but merely my own. I've been stewing lately. In the aftermath of the shooting of Renee Good and now of Alex Preddy, I've been acutely aware of beyond troubling trends here in this subreddit. First, when we put the community on pause after receiving a wave of input from users that we ought to update our policies, the amount of hostility that and the moderators received for merely trying to respect the wishes of you, our users, was appalling. From our official posts to our mod mail and DMs, I'd never seen so much open vitriol and toxicity here, especially given that the hate was aimed at our intention to listen to feedback and attempt to improve safety standards. It makes one think, are the majority of the users here actually genuine fascists and assholes? It seems like it. Any post made under non-fascist flares and any comment in support seems to be flooded with downvotes and flagrant cruelty in its comments. Any post made expressing serious topics in OOC communication or aftercare is liable to receive waves of bigotry, hate, toxicity, and frankly, just stupid comments from actual fascists that are seemingly upset. I and other mods have always done our best to make clear that this kink should be based entirely in fantasy, as this slice of power dynamic kink can and does have dangerous real-world consequences. Genuine fascists, authoritarians, and right-wingers are not welcome here. That said, it's seemingly clear to me at least that a majority of our users likely are bigots, assholes, authoritarians, and bootlickers who are just clever enough to avoid being overt and getting banned. That leads me to the question at the top. At what point does this group and its users become complicit in the normalization of heinous ideas for Nazis and not an escape and safe space for people with an edgy kink? I fear we may have passed that inflection point. Personally, I'm weighing going to the rest of the mods and petitioning that we nuke this sub. I realize I'll likely get a ton of hate and pushback from a tide of brain-dead Nazis hiding their stripes, but fuck them. I volunteer my time, experience, temperament, and judgment to try and keep this place as safe as possible, for people to explore a sensitive kink with as little fear as possible, not to empower and embolden pigs and monsters. If the community has tipped past the point of catering to liberals exclusively to primarily right-wingers, Nazis, and Nazi apologist right-wingers, then it's gotta fucking go. If any of this post has upset or scared you, the reader, you're probably part of the problem. For the rest of you who are actual liberals just trying to express your fantasies safely, I apologize. I don't mean to deprive anyone of a safe space. But to give you the behind-the-scenes perspective, this place isn't safe. It hasn't been safe for some time, and it's not like the line is even close. It's as safe as it can be within the confines of its current setup and Reddit's policies, but I doubt it's safe enough to feel comfortable for many users, and it likely won't be unless truly drastic measures are taken. It's still better than every other fascist-themed kink sub out there, because those are all run by actual fascists, who we banned from here. There's no better alternative for this kink on Reddit, but even this place is inherently dangerous, despite our best efforts. It's a rock and a hard place. I don't want to take the safest alternative away from liberals who want a safe space to explore this kink. I also don't want to cater to you subhuman Nazis in this community either. That said, it seems that unfortunately, consent and safety-minded liberals are the minority here, not the majority. Perhaps it's better off if I simply discourage that minority of good people from using Reddit to engage with this kink at all. Maybe it's simply too dangerous. Perhaps it should get wiped out by Reddit. And I should beg and plead with the admins from my position of authority to nuke not only this, but every other sub in this kink space, because I guarantee that they're all much worse than this. I don't know. I'm tired of catering to you ingrate, inbred, MAGA, incel hicks against my better wishes and judgment. I'd really prefer if you all just left, then I could sleep better at night. I'm rambling, but I truly am wrestling with my course of action, and I'm utterly sick of having to treat you idiotic authoritarian dicks with even a modicum of respect that you don't deserve. Yeah, this is pretty bad. I mean, like, definitely she should step down. Like, I'm not saying that as, like, she failed as a mod and needs to step down. I'm saying, you're doing this as a volunteer. Like, you are volunteering to moderate this subreddit. You should walk away. Like, you are...
Hit the bricks.
Yeah, like, you don't have to stick around. You're talking about, not to, like, disparage porn, but you're talking about a porn aggregator that you volunteer moderate, and you're, like, up every night, like, doing soul searching, having an existential crisis about what the outcome of that is going to be, and it's like, it just doesn't matter that much. Like, you could just not worry about it. You could just leave.
They view themselves as community builders. They view this as community. They really tried, they sincerely tried to build a safe space around this kink. And it just didn't happen. They couldn't make it happen. It was logistically impossible.
Safe kinky spaces are very hard to build in person when you are... I'm trying to decide how much I want to reveal about my life on this podcast. When you are, like, actually in community with people, this shit blows up all the time. Not because there's, like, always hidden fascists, but because people have conflict. It's hard to deal with conflict. The idea that you're somehow going to be able to do that at scale on a subreddit is just completely disconnected from reality.
She's a volunteer content moderator for
Exactly.
Reddit, the tech company.
Yeah.
That's all she's doing. She's producing revenue and traffic for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really sad because I get that people feel isolated and atomized, right? I get the whole loneliness epidemic, whatever. We can talk about why people are driven to these online spaces in a search for a community, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, online spaces aren't giving a community. There's all sorts of structural reasons, whether it's the logistics of being online or the fact that everything is geared towards making money for Reddit, that, like, this stuff isn't going to happen. And if you think you're going to be able to solve really thorny questions of, like, how to build kinky but, like, consent forward communities like this, just, like, for Reddit, like, it's just not going to happen. And if that's, like, the thing you think you need to build in order to, like, enjoy this kink, then, like, maybe you're just not ready to enjoy this kink. Like, I'm sorry. Like, maybe go and, like, take a walk, sit in the park for a little bit. Like, ask your neighbor if, you know, if they want to watch the game, right? Build a community that way, right? You want to build a community, like, I don't know, there's lots of ways to build community. Like, it doesn't need to be, like, solving the problem of consent on Reddit. Like, oh my god.
Okay, so the moderators of the sub petition Reddit to have it set to private permanently. And, of course, Reddit, because they don't give a fuck and because they are not interested in giving moderators this sort of power, just repeatedly turn down the requests. So, here's what they do. They set it so that all new posts have to be approved, and no new posts will be approved. And then they make a new subreddit, which is private from the start, called Authoritarian Play. you have to request to be allowed into that subreddit. I felt like it would be a little bit far for me to petition to join and then go spy on them and see how things are going there. But I mean, come on, man. It's the same deal. It's the same fucking deal.
Yeah, like, how did they not realize that part of the problem is they actually have no ability to determine, like, who is a fascist and not? Because, like, actually, like, every post where they're talking about finding fascists is like, just do a gut check, just trust your gut. And it's like, I'm sorry, like, you can't, right? Like, that's just not how it works. People can lie.
And their gut in particular, like, pretty clearly sucks. Like,
Yeah.
they got infiltrated repeatedly.
I have a solution for them. If they were going to make a new subreddit anyway, they should have moved to the Fediverse. Federated.
Shut the fuck up, Helen.
If they had put this all in the blockchain.
Okay, hold on. That's an entirely different bit of janky
I know,
technology,
I just wanted to make you mad.
It's
I just wanted to make you
philosophically
mad.
different, even. Helen is giving me shit because I post on a federated version of a subreddit about rationalists. Shut the fuck up.
Oh my god.
So far, the Reddit admins have not seen fit to reactivate the subreddit, but they could do it at any time. And as I mentioned, like, in the past, when a subreddit has been deactivated by being privated or by other means, like this workaround, they've stepped in and been like, no, the content must flow. So at any moment, this whole experiment could just, like, get restarted with presumably mods much less sympathetic to their methods. So really, they're completely boxed in. I mean, they're fucked. They screwed up. This shouldn't have been a thing.
My, like, first impulse is definitely, yeah, you just shouldn't have made this. Like, sorry. Like, I get that you find this kink hot, and I do think it's entirely possible to find, like, what are they calling it now, authoritarian play. Like, I find, you know, you could find that hot and not, like, be an actual authoritarian in your life. And I just don't think that you're going to be able to, like, walk that line on a subreddit. It's so doomed.
It's really weird, too, because I feel like few, if any, of our listeners are going to have a problem with the broad concept of just, like, domination kink. And what's specific to what they're doing is it has to be tied into, like, real-world political themes and influences. Mm-hmm. But, like, not too tied in. And, like, that line is so arbitrary. I feel like this whole project is just kind of ideologically suspect, because what makes it distinctive is the specificity that they also feel like they can't engage with as a community, or otherwise they're just going to be like fascists and like victimizing people in real life. Like that edging into actual victimization, like actual exploitation of actual concrete human suffering, just seems to be so intrinsic to what they're trying to do here.
I think part of the problem is part of that kink also has to do with discomfort, right? When they're trying to ban, exactly when they're trying to draw this line between like, okay, we want, these posts which are, screenshot from a porn and then some caption that like gives it a context of like, these are the police search, this is ICE searching you or whatever, right? But then you want to be like, okay, but you're not allowed to put like Confederate bikinis. You kind of have to realize like that's not really...
Oh, by the end they do end up banning ICE posts.
But see, even that, it's like, right, we don't want to be funneling money to like fascist producers of like paraphernalia. But then it's like, okay, right, all of this has to do with making you feel comfortable consuming this content. But then like even that in itself is contradictory, because part of the kink here is that it's making you uncomfortable, right? Because for a lot of the people who are engaging in this kink, they are imagining themselves the object of domination, not like the subject doing the dominating. Part of the line here is also like, okay, I want this to be like exactly as uncomfortable as I want to feel, but then anything edgier has to be banned. Like that line is going to be in a different place for everybody who's engaging with this kink. And a lot of the people who are engaging with the kink are just going to be straight up fascists. And some of the people who are engaging with the kink might be straight up, communists who just find this situation hot to think about in a sexual context. I don't know. I don't have like a firm vision of like what this thing should look like, partly because I'm just like not into this. Like I just don't, to me it's not that big of a cost to be like, yeah, just don't have this kink around, right? Just don't engage in this kink. But like if you genuinely want to engage in this kink, and whatever, if we want to be like kink positive on this podcast or whatever, it's like, yeah, you just have to realize that you're not going to have your like safe space community of you and like thousands of other Redditors who are all like getting together and doing aftercare together twice a month. That's just not what any of those words mean.
Do you want to do FAG ratings?
Who are we rating?
The mod team.
Okay. So on this show, we use the world's most advanced system for the measurement of bigotry. We rate each of our subjects on a 3-part scale with a number from 1 to 5 for each. In exceptional cases, we might go up to a 6 or down to a 0.
First, how ferocious are they?
Second, how arrogant are they?
Third, how gullible are they?
Okay, I think if we're rating the mod team, to me this seems like a pretty easy 1 on ferocity.
Agreed. There's really no malice in these people that I can see.
I mean, if we're going to talk about the fascists who infiltrated the mod team, like then we're talking 5s or 6s probably, because some of those people probably are just like straight up like groypers, right? If we're talking like the liberal mods who are doing their best to hunt out the secret fascists, they're doing the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards, but to the rest of the mod team.
Yeah, those guys
are a 1.
How about arrogance? This is the only one where I feel there's room for ambiguity.
I think there's real ambiguity, because part of me could say like, oh, they're a 1 on arrogance because, they're just trying to build a subreddit, they're just trying to enjoy porn, they have this kind of like foolish idea of what that is going to be. They're not an Ayn Rand, right? Ayn Rand is our highest arrogance rating. They're not someone who is like, I have discovered a whole new system of philosophy and it's called being correct. Like, but on the other hand, I could be like, they're a 5 for arrogance because they think that they have like magic gut check ability to just like pick who's a real fascist and who's pretending, and that they're going to like solve all these thorny problems of sex and consent.
Well, I guess we can ask this question, like, is complacency the same as arrogance? Because if it is, that jacks their score up.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's not. I think that what I'm describing as arrogance really is more a kind of complacency. And I think that their arrogance is like maybe a 2 for me.
I think I'm going to give them a 1 on this.
Okay.
Finally, gullibility. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay, so gullibility requires a little bit of explanation here. Each of our subjects has a role in the production of bigotry. A higher gullibility score means they're inhabiting that role without any awareness of doing so, while a low score means they're hyper-aware of their role. The role, we usually like explicitly have to have this conversation, but we've been talking about this already, what their role is, right? Their role in the production of bigotry, a specific type of bigotry we're talking about is like fascism. Their role is like normalizing ideas, funneling money to fascist creators, like providing a place where fascists can like congregate and recruit and do all these things.
And meet victims in real life.
Yeah. And they're like, it's weird. They are like at times aware that this is their role, but they think they are like walking the line until they aren't, right? Until the end. But somehow actually the fact that they're somewhat aware, but then they're like, we're going to solve the problem by like changing this rule, actually shows less awareness for me, right? Because it's like you kind of saw a glimpse of it, but then you totally misunderstood the scope of the problem and what the problem actually is. And so for those reasons, I think they're a 6. Like, these are the most gullible motherfuckers I've ever seen.
If I could give them a 7, I would. But yeah. 6 is already like our exceptional range. They're getting a 6.
We've decided a little bit that because gullibility is different, we should think about these 2 scores separately. So they're sort of like, how bad are they score is the F and A ratings together. I've given them a 3, you've given them a 2. That's very low. But with a 6G rating, like, they're putting up numbers. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, I hate it. We fucked up. We shouldn't have done computers. What were we thinking? They should have killed Alan Turing earlier and for different reasons. Let's say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
There's really nothing real. There is no real. And that's what's called the postmodern mentality.
I couldn't resist the worst racist remark.
The adventure of life justifies its suffering.
I don't want to see him having political succubus with goblins.
do it live.
Is Trump going to have babies with a goblin?
do it live.
And turn against us like Darth Vader?
Do it live!
Now listen, you
The right
queer,
of calling
I'll
names,
slap you in
let's
your
get-
goddamn face, and
let's-
you'll stay plastered.
I was going to have a guest speaker, but the person I had invited in died.
Some level of masochism.